So today I will tell you a little bit about an integrative model of goal pursuit that I've been working on. And this is work that done together with my former graduate student, Kaitlyn Werner. So it's kind of theoretical integration that we've been coming up with together. And I'd love to hear thoughts and feedback afterwards. So research on goal pursuit and on goals generally has spanned many different theories and models. So there's a very rich literature there. And part of the issue, though, is that because there's so many of them, people tend to work kind of in silos. So some of these models that are most prominent for explaining goal pursuit, for example, the Rubicon model of action phases, it focuses on stages through which a person progresses as they pursue the goal. So from deliberating which goal to pursue, to planning how to pursue it, taking action towards it, and then evaluating the results. The cybernetic model of self-regulation or cybernetic control theory is probably the best known model of self-regulation, which proposes a feedback loop. So goal pursuit consists of setting a goal, monitoring progress, and then if you notice that you're too far from your goal, you take action to reduce discrepancy. Goal systems theory focuses on how goals are organized, and specifically the hierarchical organization with means or sub-goals nested within broader goals. And there's some other theories, self-determination theory we've touched on a little bit today already. There's research on goals as level of personality, which Brian Little spoke about earlier. I guess the key point here is that with so many theories, each researcher tends to focus on specific aspects of goal pursuit while overlooking others. So it's really easy to be caught kind of in your silo of research and focus on one specific area. And of course, this is exacerbated by the fact that goal pursuit is of interest to a lot of different sub-areas of psychology and then areas beyond psychology as well. So for example, personality psychologists might look at goal pursuit very different from researchers in organizational or behavior sciences, for example. And so what this results in is really a fragmented field. And this is problematic because then it's really hard to talk to each other and hard to kind of see what's converging about all coming from all these different research directions and different lines of research. And it makes it more difficult to understand goal pursuit as this kind of broader set of processes. So our solution to this fragmentation was to come up with an integrative model of goal pursuit, which builds on existing models and incorporates evidence from a variety of theories, including all the ones mentioned in the previous slide and many, many others. And as I will discuss further at the end of the talk, having one model can help unify the field and get researchers on the same page so that we can better understand how goal pursuit unfolds. And so for most of the rest of the talk, I will walk you through this model. This is the proposed model. I know there's quite a lot in there. I also posted it on the description of the talk and the conference document that the abstract is in. So if you want to take a closer look later, go on there. And I'll walk you through it kind of step by step because I know it's a lot to take in. And generally, there are two key components here. There's the self-regulation component. So that's all here, which is really based on the feedback loop proposed by the cybernetic model with some modifications. And then there are the broader social contexts and other moderators that impact all the aspects of the model. And the model also touches on multiple goal pursuit, although this is not illustrated in the figure itself. So the first step of self-regulation is deciding what goal to pursue. To do so, a person considers the value and the feasibility. So how desirable is it to attain the goal, taking into account costs, effort, and so on. And the feasibility is how likely the person is to attain the goal. For a desired outcome to become a goal, there also needs to be some level of commitment. Otherwise, it's just a wish or a fantasy. But commitment can wax and wane over time. So it's not a dichotomy, either yes, I'm committed to this goal, or no, I'm not, as over time that can change. We also argue that to be a goal, at some point, the desired end state has to be consciously endorsed. So theoretical and empirical work on goal pursuit or on goal setting has mostly focused on the properties of the goals that people set. So for example, is it an approach goal or an avoidance goal? Is it specific? Is it difficult? Is it self-concordant? And then researchers would look at how these properties influence goal pursuit and goal attainment. That's one area where there's really a lot of focus in literature. However, once a person decides on a goal that they will pursue, this goal, along with the associated properties, is encoded and stored in memory. And we argue that it can be activated to direct behavior later. So if another goal needs to be prioritized, the goal can fade into the background and then be activated again later. And this future activation can occur automatically and outside of awareness. So the first step then includes either the setting or the activation of a goal, as in both cases, this is necessary for the goal to direct behavior. And this then leads to the next steps of the model. So the next step is goal striving. This happens once a goal is decided on or it gets activated. This is where the person takes action to bring themselves closer to the goal. So in the Rubicon model of action phase, it's called the actional phase, and it's also an important component of other models as well, and includes any action that could get the person closer to their goals. And these are sometimes called means or sub-goals. We also propose that goal striving always requires effort. And here I define effort as the mobilization of mental or physical resources to carry out behavior, based on the definition from Gendola and Wright, 2009. However, a person might not always be aware that they are putting on effort. For example, if they're in a state of flow, or they could be pursuing some efficient goal pursuit strategies such that relatively less effort is needed, as is the case with habits, for example. So even though effort is always required, people may not be aware of it, and it might still unfold automatically. Next, as the person takes action to bring themselves closer to the goal, they also monitor their progress to ensure that these actions are having the desired effect. And even when they're not consciously monitoring progress, there's nevertheless feedback about the progress that is received. And this often comes in through our affect. When sufficient progress has been made, either the goal is adjusted to make it more challenging, or a completely new goal is activated, going back to the start of the process. A lack of progress, however, indicates that there's a discrepancy that needs to be addressed. And we propose that this discrepancy acts as an alarm. So the alarm system, when activated, signals a problem with goal pursuit, and it can be experienced as negative affect. This is consistent with some prior research and theorizing, but an alarm system has not formally been incorporated into most theories of goal pursuit. So it's an aspect that needs to be closely examined. And we propose that this alarm, in most cases, leads to more effort. However, and this is done so that it's in order to reduce the discrepancy, so improve goal striving. However, it could also lead to disengagement. And so if the goal is maybe the discrepancy is too great and putting in effort won't help, it might lead to abandoning the goal or setting a different goal. And whether the alarm actually leads to action, effort or not, this is often considered as the core of the self-control conflict. So research that focuses on self-control and state self-control really is looking at this question of whether the alarm leads to effort. And in addition to being activated by progress or lack of progress, We argue that the alarm can also be activated by obstacles or temptations in a person's environment. Another component of the self-regulation process in our model, which is found in some models of goal pursuit, but not in others, is planning. And planning is all about deciding when, where, and how to pursue the goal. And there's a large literature on implementation intentions that shows the benefits of doing so. Planning can also be done by breaking down a broader goal into smaller, more concrete steps, which can also be considered as setting new, smaller goals. Finally, anticipating obstacles can also lead to planning. And this is the technique of mental contrasting, is built on this idea of anticipating obstacles and then planning to reduce them. So that was a run through of the self-regulation part. And in addition to looking at that, our model recognizes that goals are not pursued in a vacuum. And we propose that a broader context influences all aspects of goal pursuit. These broader contexts include a person's upbringing and developmental antecedents, such as parents and other socializing agents. It includes other people who contribute to all aspects of goal pursuit, including goal setting, striving, and monitoring. And considering how to think about the role of others in goal pursuit process, this has recently been described in the transactive goal dynamics theory proposed by Granny Fitzsimmons, Michel Van Dalen, and Eli Finkel. And there's a lot of research looking directly at the role of others in all these steps of the goal pursuit process. Finally, another aspect of the broad context that is relatively less studied is culture. And there are some research on the types of goals that people set across different cultures, but much less about potential differences in the process itself. In addition to these broad social contexts, personality and individual differences also influence the self-regulation process. Many individual differences have been studied, including personality traits, as well as age and life stage. But generally, there is little cohesion in this research as it is often approached from different theoretical perspectives. And finally, in terms of kind of broader influences on self-regulation, the specific context or domain in which the goal is embedded is likely to play a role. For example, how a person sets and pursues their school goals might be very different from how they pursue their health goals or their relationship goals. And research that has looked across goals shows that 60 to 95% of the variation in most goal characteristics, including goal attainment, is across domains. So this becomes really important to consider to understand goal pursuit. The idea that not all goals are created equal, and there's something about the context, the very specific context in which the goal is set that matters. In our model, we also propose that in addition to broad social context, individual differences, and goal domains influencing self-regulation, we also propose that goal pursuit feeds back to shape these broader constructs. And so how we pursue the goals we choose, will influence how others interact with us and the environment that we might find ourselves in. Finally, to touch on multiple goals, and this is not illustrated in the model because it would just make it too complicated in terms of the kind of visualization, but think that it's really important for a complete model of goal pursuit to address the question of multiple goals. And so far, I have mostly described how goal pursuit unfolds for a single goal, but usually people have to navigate multiple goals at the same time. And so to account for multiple goals, we propose first that these self-regulatory loops that I described here can be nested within each other, such that goals at different level of abstraction can be pursued simultaneously. So, for example, if I'm going for a jog, part of the goal might be, okay, to put on my sneakers to go for a jog right now, but it also serves, going for a jog right now serves my immediate goal of jogging, but also my broader goal of being healthy. These are goals at different level of abstractions. However, at the level of behavior, so this would be the lower level goals or the means, only one goal is activated at a time. I'll call this the focal goal. And there are mechanisms in place to protect goal striving when the goal is activated, but this lower level goal could be helping more than one higher level goal, which would then mean that these superordinate goals can be pursued concurrently. So, for example, if I'm jogging with a friend, the actual act of jogging is the smaller goal that I'm pursuing, but it might be serving two broader goals of both maintaining my friendship and being healthy. And this is referred to as multi-final means, so doing an action that leads to multiple broader goals. Finally, even though only one goal level can be activated at a time, we propose that goal switching can happen very rapidly and occurs when sufficient progress has been made towards the focal goal, when the goal is no longer feasible, or when something else in the environment, including obstacles or temptations, activate a competing goal that takes over, and that becomes the focal goal then. So overall, I think I just gave you a lot of information in a very short time. But why is this important, right? Why does this matter? Why do we need a new model? Well, first, I think this model can help us organize disjointed or fragmented literature. So for example, meta-analyses can be done to summarize the state of the research of the proposed links to better understand what we know and where knowledge is lacking. This model can also provide directions for future research by generating some new testable hypotheses. So for example, looking at the effect of planning not only on progress, but on other components of the model. And especially it could help us generate some new hypotheses about boundary conditions and particularly of the contextual or personality moderators that I spoke about. Another direction for research based on the model is to combine propositions from different theories. So for example, different theories provide different characteristics of goals as being important for goal pursuit. So specificity and difficulty in goal setting theory, or self-concordance in self-determination theory, approach and avoidance motivation. And these can be combined and tested in combination with proposition from different theories by having one unifying model. From a more practical perspective, having one unified model can help lay people and those helping them, so coaches, therapists, managers, and so on, better understand how the goal pursuit process unfolds, and can help people understand their own goal pursuit and identify where they need to improve to better attain the goal. And once there's enough research on each component, it should be easier to make concrete recommendations for steps to improve goal pursuit. For example, how to set goals that are most likely to be attained, or what contextual supports best facilitate this process. And with that, I'm done, and I look forward to your questions, comments, concerns, and any thoughts on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marina, for this great talk. We still have 1 minute for questions. If anyone wants to ask your question alive, you can raise your hand using the emoji system. You can also post your question in the Google Doc. We have a question from Christian.
Hi, sorry, I can't see myself. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thanks for this interesting talk. I just wondered if you could elaborate a bit more. You said there's opportunity to bring self-concordance in, approach avoidance motivation, or approach avoidance goals. How would you do this? How would that work?
So I think you could start by focusing on looking at different levels of the model. So, for example, are you interested in how goal characteristics impact goal striving, or how do they impact the planning process? And that could generate ways of thinking through about, okay, can we measure, for example, measure both those things simultaneously and look at them, talk about them simultaneously, as opposed to kind of one group of researchers focusing on just one aspect and another group focusing on just the other aspect, even though the kind of outcomes that everybody's interested in is goal attainment. So kind of making this, I think, raising the awareness that if we have one common model, maybe there could be more talk across these areas.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.